Welcome back to the channel. My name is Cjam, and today we're going to be having a spoiler discussion about Hawkeye Season 1. Now, if you haven't seen it, Hawkeye basically came out on November 24th. I think it was Wednesday, November 24th, basically Thanksgiving last year, 2021, and it premiered on Disney+. And it's a show focusing on Hawkeye from the Avengers, obviously, Clint Barton, and his new protege, Kate Bishop, played by Hailee Steinfeld. It was very small, very self-contained surrounding Clint and Kate. We didn't really get any other major Avengers cameos, even though I wouldn't mind one, but it was really enjoyable and I really would recommend it. It's a good binge if you're just needing some more Marvel content. And speaking of Avengers cameos, the billboard for the musical that was in Hawkeye, right? The Rogers, the musical, the Avengers musical, that billboard also showed up in Spider-Man No Way Home. So they could have given us a little cameo, but I'll settle for what we got because it was really cool. And it was rooted in MCU history. I really liked how they brought us back to the Battle of New York, in the first Avengers movie from 2012. And they showed us when Clint was jumping off that building backwards and firing his arrow, and then Kate was there in an apartment across the way, like seeing him, and it was at that moment that she fell in love with the hero that is Hawkeye. Hawkeye is a boss hero. He doesn't get as much love as he should, but I really like him. He was definitely cooler in the What If series. They definitely really showcased him in What If, that episode with him and Natasha. But I'm just saying, Hawkeye is a pretty cool Avenger. And this series is really about family. It focuses on Clint's family, Kate's family, but the series is it's mainly about Kate, right? This series is about Kate Bishop. It's more of a passing the baton. So if you're watching this to see Clint is in the series, but it's a really Kate-centric series. I mean, it focuses on both of them, but it's a little bit more about Kate and her family. And I'm cool with that. I like Hailee Steinfeld. She's a pretty good actor here in this. And I really like where they're setting up her to take her as the Kate Bishop character. And as I mentioned character, let's go ahead and talk about the characters in this show, right? First of all, Clint. As I said, Hawkeye deserves some respect. He's a very cool and a very important Avenger. Like, seeing him go through the emotional roller coaster that he went through in just this series, and suffering from severe PTSD with all the explosions that he's gone through, all the hard hits that he's taken as an Avenger, which has led to him now wearing hearing aid that was really made me empathize with him. Like, oh whoa, Clint has really been doing a lot, saving the world. He's been doing a lot of avenging, and it's taking a toll on his body, because if you pause to think about it, he's just a regular guy. He's a human being. He doesn't have any superpowers. So to really see that level of realness and real life struggles was really cool for me. And I really loved his trick arrows. And as I mentioned earlier, I mentioned the What If series. So I really like how they focused on the trick arrows, because What If had a lot of trick arrows. If you haven't seen What If on Disney Plus, you should see it. It's playing on Disney Plus now, but I really enjoy the trick arrows. And Jeremy Renner, the actor who plays Clint Barton Hawkeye, he really delivers on the emotional scenes here, because especially when he and Kate are having their one-on-one, when they're in the living room eating pizza, when Clint was talking to his wife on the phone, but he didn't know that it was his son, because remember, he's going deaf when he lost his hearing aid, and Kate was telling him that it's actually his son wanting him to come home for Christmas. That definitely got me in my feels, because that was seeing Kate helping him by writing down what his son is saying because he can't hear it, and it was so good. So Clint is right up there, or back high up on my list as my favorite Avenger, just because of the journey and the development that he got in this series. And his wife Laura, she was there. She had a really small arc. It was about her getting back her watch, her watch that was lost, that would have led to people finding out that she was a SHIELD agent. When she got it and she flipped it around in the finale, it says 19, maybe her call sign was she was Agent 19 or something like that. And then before that, when she spoke German in that episode when she was talking to Clint, like trying to find the watch, I was like, she could speak German all this time. And then I started having my suspicions, like maybe there's more to Clint's wife than they're telling us. And so said, so done. She has some kind of history with S.H.I.E.L.D. and I cannot wait for them to show us more of that. They better show us more of that. They can't tease us like this and not show us. So I thought that was pretty cool, giving her a backstory, making the character more interesting. And a fun fact, Clint's wife, the actress who plays Clint's wife, she actually played Velma in the Scooby-Doo movie back in the day, and I did not remember that. How cool is that, right? Now let's talk about Kate. I really loved Kate's drive and determination. Her stick-to-itiveness is the word. She was very determined and she had a lot of perseverance, and I really like that about her character. And she's like us. She is a fan of the MCU, of the Avengers. She is literally us if we went into that world and actually became and went side by side with the Avengers. She was just fangirling all the time, and I really like that. She was a huge fan of Clint and she believed in him. And as I mentioned earlier, she was there in the apartment looking across the way, and when she saw Clint jumping down, that was she's a fan from day zero. She has always been there, and she gave Clint the rejuvenation he needed to like stay in the fight, because remember, as I mentioned, he's weathered, he's getting battered from all his avenging because he's a regular guy, right? And I loved that she has a background of archery and sports and like self-defense and fighting, so she's really cool. She can fight, even though sometimes I didn't like how they leveled her up instantly, like in the first episode when she put on the Ronin suit and was like fighting the bad guys, the guys who were like shooting. I was like, how did she get so how did she level up so quickly? These guys are hardened criminals. These guys are real criminals. How is she taking them on so effortlessly? Am I supposed to believe that? But I believed it because it was the first episode, and we're not being too harsh on the show, but I really liked how cool she was. She's a really good fighter. And in the finale, when she ran down on the wire along the side of the building that Yelena ran down, she should have died because she basically fell all of those stories, and she actually fell when she hit the ground. So she should have died. If it was real life, she would have died after that fall. When I saw that, I was like, there's no way. You've got to be kidding me. There's no way Kate survives that fall. But it's TV. We're just putting logic to the side a little bit just for the purposes of this show. But it was really fun. I loved Hailee Steinfeld's character, and she's such a great actress. Being a musician, seeing her level up as a actress now who is joined the MCU officially, because she's been rumored to be Kate Bishop for a long time. So to actually see her being Kate Bishop now, it's really cool. Her future is bright in Hollywood if she sticks to the righteous path. She was in Bumblebee as well, that came out in 2018. She was the star of that movie. So her acting career is pretty much taking off. And then two of the funniest lines to me from Kate was when she said in the first episode, when she was just fitting in as a waiter, acting like she was a waiter, and then she had the tray, and then she said Gary gave her the job or told her to come down here, and then the guy came and said, he's Gary, who are you? And then she instantly clicked and adapted to the situation by saying, Gary, the fact that you don't even know my name is so hurtful. And that was so funny. And then later on in the series, when she was I think it was in the finale, when she was alongside Yelena, in the elevator and stuff, and then she was like saying to Yelena, stop making me like you. And Yelena said she can't help it. That was so funny as well. But Hailee Steinfeld is so cool. I really like Kate Bishop. I'm interested to see how they use her going forward in the MCU, because she's a fan. She's literally us. So I'm really excited to see her. And now let's just touch on Kate's father a little bit. I mean, he it was so sloppy how they handled him. He literally just vanished in the first episode. I didn't remember seeing anything hit him. I didn't see him fall out of the building. He was in the other room with his wife. Kate was in her room. The explosions happened from the Battle of New York, and then he just vanished. Maybe I missed something, but he just vanished to me. And we didn't see his body. He's just assumed dead. I wouldn't be surprised if they brought him back in the future, but if he's really, really dead, then I didn't like how they handled that. You know, they should have showed, like, or they should have given us something more than just implying that he died, because he wasn't in the area that exploded. The area that exploded on the building was Kate's room and not her father's room. But I really hope they bring him back or explain that some more. Maybe he'll come back as a villain, who knows. And then Jack, or mustache twirling Jack, Eleanor's fiance. At first I thought he was the villain because he was coming off like a jerk. He had the mustache. You know, villains have mustaches in movies. And it was when I realized that he wasn't the villain eventually, after we realized that the mom was, you know, I was like, it was too obvious. Like, he has all the characteristics. Like, from episode 1, the first time we saw him, he just came off as a villain. But I guess they were just using that to throw us off the mother's scent, from like really picking up that it was the mother this whole time and not Jack. So when Jack got his redemption, you know, after the mother threw him under the bus and then got him sent to jail, and then he came back out with the sword, and then he got to use the sword in the end. It was so cool because he's actually, in the comics, he's actually a character named Swordsman. So that was pretty cool to see. So I really like that he got his redemption and that he didn't die. So we're gonna get more of Jack in the future. He's a pretty cool guy. He really cares about Kate's mom and Kate, obviously. And then Elanor Bishop, Kate's mom. After Jack proved that after we saw that Jack was innocent, and then I started suspecting Elanor, I was like, it makes sense, right? Because she's very powerful, she's very high in society, and the scales were tilting to her being more shady than Jack. And then, as we found out, whatever Kate's father was doing, that just fell on Kate's mom, fell in Eleanor's lap. And that's how she became indebted to Kingpin. And I thought it was a little bit weird that she had Armand killed, or she killed him, right? Whichever way it actually happened. I was like, why would you kill him? Like, if you want out so bad from under the Kingpin's grip, I'm sure she was really smart, because she said she had a safety net, she had a backup plan, you know, after working with the Kingpin. So I'm sure she didn't have to kill Armand, right? But she did, and she loves her daughter. I really bought the relationship with her and Kate. But at the same time, when she said to Kate, is this what you're gonna do? Is this what people do on Christmas? Send their mothers to jail. I'm like, you killed Armand, or you had him killed. You don't get a free pass, and then you're corrupt. You're in bed with the Kingpin. That doesn't mean you get to be home for Christmas. You actually killed someone, right? But I'm sure we're gonna see more of Elanor. I'm definitely sure we're gonna see more of her. Maya, played by Alakwa Cox. Loved her intro when she was in the room with the speakers, you know, all those speakers like blazing, and then she had the red lights, looking very Daredevil-like, right? With the red lights, the Daredevil Netflix series. She's actually a Daredevil character, or she showed up in the Daredevil comics. So it's really interesting to see how they tie her in, if they tie her in with Daredevil, because now Kingpin from the Netflix Daredevil series is back. So, right, it's very possible, right? And Maya is so cool. She's a good fighter. She's very good at fighting, but I didn't think she was a threat. I more thought she was reckless than a threat, but I really loved her character. I like the flashback with her as a kid, you know, with her taking karate classes and her father. And I'm interested to see, it's going to be interesting to see how they use her in her own series, because she's getting a series. Her comic book character name is Echo, right? So she'll be getting a series. The name of the series is Echo, obviously. So I'm really interested to see how they how they structure that series for us to really rally around Maya, to really get to love her, because I don't see her as a full villain, right? Kingpin is more of a villain than Maya. So yeah, I'm just really interested to see that. When the series comes out, I'm definitely going to be watching it. And the actress that plays Maya, Alaqua Cox, she's actually an amputee in real life, and she has a prosthetic leg, and she was born deaf, right? And I thought it was so cool when she was fighting Clint and she held up her prosthetic leg. She like held up her foot to block Clint's attack. So I thought that was really cool, and I thought it was very smart of her when she went I'm just looking at my notes here, when she went to confront Kingpin and Kazi, you know, after she fought with Ronin, and Ronin told her that her boss had her father killed, which is Kingpin is her boss. So when she confronted Kingpin and Kazi, she just confronted them just to see the look on their face, and I thought it was so smart of her to do that. And when she saw the look on their faces, she knew they were lying through their teeth. So I thought that was really smart. She is really smart. As I said, I love the character. I'm interested to see what they do with her in the future. Alaqua Cox did a very good job portraying this character, right? So I really like her. And then Kazi, I thought killing Kazi was so dumb. I wouldn't mind seeing him again in season 2, because he was really in a rock and a hard place, in between a rock and a hard place. He didn't really do anything for me in the series. He was just the person who was lying to Maya this whole time, because if Kazi had left town after Maya had confronted him and Kingpin, he would have gotten away with his life. He wouldn't have died, right? But I guess there wasn't anywhere that he could have gone that the Kingpin could not find him. But I didn't think they have to kill him. What do you guys think? They didn't have to kill him, because in the comics he's actually another character. You know, he eventually becomes another character. So when I heard about that, I was like, okay, maybe we'll see him transform or graduate to his villain status in season 2. But they killed him, so I didn't really like that. And then the bros, tracksuit bros, calling each other bro was so funny. Every time they called each other bro, I was literally, it was just so funny and so cool. That was their thing. Maybe they call each other bro because they don't use their real names in the gang, right? So I thought that was a pretty cool touch. And then the Imagine Dragons joke, when that one was saying that he bought tickets for his girlfriend for them to go see Imagine Dragons, etc., etc. That was pretty funny. And then the random weird conversations that they always have among themselves, I didn't really think they were as deadly as the series wanted me to believe. Remember when they had caught Kate and Clint the first time, and they were saying, this big one was saying that the big bro was saying that Kate talks too much, maybe he should cut out her tongue. And I was like, bro, calm down, you're not that much of a bad guy. Because I haven't seen them done anything to the level where they are the cut out the tongue kind of gang, right? So I thought that was pretty weird. It's like the series wanted me to believe that they were this intense gang, but what I was seeing on screen, it was like they were it wasn't, yeah. So I didn't like that. But the tracksuit bros, they were so cool. And then Grills and the LARPers. I like Grills. I don't know about you guys, but I was hoping the entire time watching this series that, knowing as it intensified with each episode, I was like, please don't kill Grills. Please don't kill Grills. And I'm really glad they didn't kill him, because he and the LARPers, when we went to the first LARPing session and then Clint was there, he wanted to get the suit and he had to battle Grills for the suit, and they were all there cheering, and then they were fighting in slow motion, and Clint was there just playing along. Clint was there playing along with the LARPing, and then they were all so into it, and Clint was just like, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? They're really passionate about what they do, and I really like that. And then Yelena Belova, played by Florence Pugh. We've all seen her from the Black Widow movie. She's Natasha's sister. Every scene that she was in was like pure gold. every single she was so good, and I really liked and thought it was very intense when the little sequence when spoilers for Black Widow, by the way. Remember that at the end of the Black Widow movie, they were to go around the world and release all the other widows from the influence of the guy who was leading the Red Room, right? And then so when she went to that widow's house, and then they fought, and then they were talking, and she found out that the widow actually lived there because things were going good for her, and then she blipped, she got snapped, right? And then how they showed that on screen, what was happening was she got snapped, and then Hulk snapped again and brought everybody back. So the first snap was from Thanos, half of the universe disappeared. When she came back, it was when the Hulk snapped. But the way they showed it, because when she got snapped, she came back in an instant. So it was like the way it happened, she just disappeared and came back at the same time within a split second. I was like, this is probably the coolest thing I've seen in this series so far, right? Just how they showed that visually, how they aged or changed the appearance of the house over the 5 years, because there was a 5-year jump in Avengers Endgame. So I thought that was so cool. So that period where she came back would have been right as the Hulk snapped in Avengers Endgame. So the big final battle that was happening in Endgame, where Iron Man actually snapped, that was happening right when the other Black Widow was catching Yelena up to speed, telling her that it's been 5 years, etc., etc. And then Yelena was like, I need to find Natasha. Can you help me find Natasha? I need to let her know that I'm okay. That was so moving. I was like, oh my gosh, Yelena, Florence Pugh is killing this. And then when she finally met Kate, and then she kept calling Kate by her full name, Kate Bishop, I thought that was so fun. And then when Kate said, oh my gosh, you're really Natasha's sister, I almost killed you on the roof, and Yelena just burst out laughing. I was laughing too, because you didn't almost kill Yelena. Yelena almost killed you. If Yelena had wanted, she would have killed you from the moment you came onto that rooftop. So I thought that was very funny. And as I said, every scene that she was in was gold. When she was going back and forth with Kate, trying to find Clint, going up to the elevator, and Kate wanted to press the buttons on the elevator to choose the floor, and then Yelena was just like, she slapped her and said no. I thought that was so funny and so good. I'm so excited to see more of Yelena going forward in the MCU and how her and Clint's relationship build. And on that note, Yelena versus Clint on the ice at the Rockefeller Center in New York. That was so moving. She was fighting him, she was beating him. She knew deep down inside that he was telling the truth, even though she was constantly saying, why are you lying? Because she just thought that he was responsible for Natasha's death. But we all knew, based on Avengers Endgame, that Natasha made a sacrifice, right? So I thought it was so moving, and again, so much character development here in this series with Clint, Kate, and now Yelena. So I'm really excited to see more of Yelena going forward. Loved it. Loved Florence Pugh's performance here. She was so good. And then the big Kingpin, they brought him back. They brought back Kingpin when they revealed to us that the person who Kate's mom, Elanor, was meeting with was actually Kingpin at the end of episode 5. I was like, all right, they're doing the thing. And then, spoilers for Spider-Man No Way Home. When we saw Daredevil in Spider-Man No Way Home, and you know that they're both from the Daredevil Netflix series, I was like, all right, they're really doing the thing. And I'm so excited to see how they use him going forward. But obviously, it's a different Kingpin. He's kind of toned down, because the Kingpin that was in Daredevil, he was much more sinister than the Kingpin here. Because if Kate had gone up against him in the Daredevil series, he would have laid her out. He would have probably killed her from the moment Elanor double-crossed him, he would have gone and killed Kate, right? So there's definitely a difference within the two portrayals of Kingpin by Vincent D'Onofrio. Vincent D'Onofrio is from Law and Order. Which one is it? Criminal Intent? Yeah, if you guys don't know who the actor is, he just put on a lot of weight to like really get into this role. But it's a much more sinister Kingpin that was in the Daredevil series versus this, and he was still intimidating and still very evil though, don't get me wrong. Because when Elanor threatened him and she walked out and he was just sitting at the table, and then you saw like his lip right here was just twitching because he's like losing his screws, right? He's upset. I was like, all right, sir, calm down, just be a little bit. And then when he intimidated Kazi by saying, the city needs to be reminded who's in charge, I was like, all right, Kingpin is back. Kingpin is back, but there's a slight difference. He's just somewhat different to me. I don't know why. And then versus Kate. Is Kingpin on Super Soldier Serum when he was fighting Kate? Did he get juiced up or something? Because he took a hit by a car. He took like half a dozen arrows in his chest. He, obviously I'm exaggerating, he took a couple explosions. What is he on? Can he not die? And there's no way, as I mentioned him dying, there's no way when he came face to face with Maya at the end of the finale, there's no way they brought him back to kill him in the Hawkeye season finale. No way. I refuse to believe that. Remember, you didn't see a body. That's comic book movie 101. Once you don't see a body, the person is not dead. But I loved that they brought him back from the Daredevil series. The possibilities are now endless, and I'm really hoping they bring back more persons from the Netflix series, the Netflix Marvel series. You know, we have Jessica Jones, we have the Punisher, Luke Cage. So the possibilities are now endless. I'm so excited. I'm speaking gibberish. But that was my review. And what did you guys think of Hawkeye? It's now playing on Disney Plus. Does it affect the MCU on a whole? No, it doesn't. Does it have purpose? Yes, it does, because there's huge character development, as I mentioned, for Kate, Clint, and Yelena, and as well as we're introduced to the Bishop family, and we see and get to spend more time with the Barton family. It brings back Kingpin, as I mentioned, and it opens the door for the Netflix Daredevil characters, or just the Netflix Marvel characters, to come into the MCU. And as I mentioned, all 6 episodes are now playing on Disney Plus for you to binge all at once. So let me know what you thought of the series, if you've seen it, down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, my name is Cjam, and I will see you guys in the next review.